What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Chig coming at you with another Diablo 4 build guide. Today we're going to be talking about something that I've always really enjoyed, and that's Whirlwinds. This version of Whirlwind just happens to explode all over the place with dust devils when you are spinning around, which is incredible and clears everything. Stick around after the explanations and I will do a quick pit and show you how the gameplay is. Start out with the gear, which is mine's still a mess. I'm still missing a lot of pieces of gear and a lot of chaos armor and all kinds of things. So I'm going to give you the rundown and tell you maybe what should be there, um, as well as what you should put on the things that aren't uniques, yada yada. Anyway, let's hop right into it. So the Ugly Bastard helm, ideally you want this on your boots so you can get, battle trance, which apparently I can't find ever. Haven't had battle trance drop yet, and that's making me sad, but this is going to make you explode when you do Wrath of the Berserker. It's going to deal some fire damage. Make sure damage converted to fire while Wrath of the Berserker is active also gives you a multiplicative damage increase on your fire damage. So all the way around, super good. Fist of Fate, I happen to get a really good one. Love this. Need to fix my Masterworks, but randomly deal 1 to 360% of their normal damage, which is, a lot. Crown Lucian, this is always, always, always good on anything that uses resource. When you use a skill with resource sauce, gain some increased damage. Resource cost is increased, but it's just giving you tons of damage. Saber of Seagal, this is a weapon you can put in your weapon slot if you get the weapon, but ideally you want it on a chaos armor. Increases your physical damage. We don't really care too much about that. You just get increased damage for your damaging skills that are on your bar. You're always going to have at least 2, so just there's that. You're always going to have the 14% because you're going to have Whirlwind going all the time. If you really want to min-max, you can use Leaping Strike every now and then, every 15 seconds to keep the extra damage bonus up. I don't do that. I like to just hold down the button and not worry about it. You don't really want regular boots. Ideally, this would be one of the Chaos Armors. So if you can get Battle Trance, Fist of Fate, Crown of Lucian, the Saber, the Helm. What I'm trying to get is the Helm here or the Battle Trance here, either one. I just need something here. I'm not happy about this. For that, just put Whirlwind size, whatever you want, because basically you don't need this piece of gear anyway. Mobility cooldown reduction, I wanted that to be move speed, but hey, we can't always get the rolls we want. You're going to put strength in all of your armor pieces because strength is king. So on your big weapon here, your bludgeoning weapon, critical strike damage is amazing because, we want to do all the critical strike damage we can. You're going to put increased chance for Dust Devils to cast twice because we want that happening as much as we can. Increased Dust Devil damage. Unlike the regular Whirlwind build, this is focusing more on the Dust Devil damage, not the Whirlwind damage. They're basically the same thing, but you would just change your tempers around a little bit. What I have on here is Fierce Winds, makes it every time your shout skills pop up, they make Dust Devils, makes your Dust Devils bigger, and you get increased damage for size Dust Devils, so when you can roll Dust Devil size, you want to do that as well. I'm using Bach Tech here if you don't have Bach, because it's really hard to get. Just any of the things that give you a decent amount of resource for whatever, just to get your Earthquake going, and we'll talk about why that matters here in just a few minutes. You're going to temper that for, well, already talked about the tempers. Never mind, going crazy. Strength, maximum life, critical strike damage. Pretty much what you want on that. Main hand and offhand weapons, same thing. Crit, life, critical strike damage. Until I haven't fixed this yet. Should not be vulnerable damage. Don't do that. You want the extra Dust Devil damage. You want Belligerence if you can get it here, or Wallop, whichever one. We'll talk about what those do when we get to the skills section. Whirlwind, leave behind Dust Devils. This is why it's a quote-unquote Whirlwind build. It's just giving you more Dust Devils because you want to be at the Dust Devil cap at all times. The Dust Devil cap is 15, so we're going to be doing that as much as we can. Here, Wallop or Belligerence, whichever, you want to get one on each of your weapons. Same thing, we want Strength, Maximum Life, and we also want Critical Strike damage. As you can see, still haven't fixed this. But Dust Devil damage and Wallop, excellent, excellent, excellent here. So this is a spot at which I'm using a extra item imprint because I'm using Critical Strike with core skills, increase your attack speed. That's not what's supposed to be here. What's supposed to be here is anything else that goes on the build, which we'll talk about on the other 3 slots, but it's because I don't have the grandfather here. This is where my grandfather would be if I had one, but I don't. So, yeah, anyway, just get a little more attack speed. I like attack speed, attacking faster, makes your Whirlwind faster, yada yada. So, there you go. We're putting increased critical strike damage gems in those. So this is where your grandfather would be if you had one. I did get lucky and got the Ring of Starless Skies. If you don't get the Ring of Starless Skies, just critical strike chance, max life, whatever else on your other ring that you need. So I haven't got the critical strike damage roll on this yet either. Max life, strength, Dust Devil damage, chance for Dust Devils to cast twice. So once you do get your grandfather, you want this weapon to have a triple crit on Dust Devils cast twice to try to make sure you get 100%. Right now, I'm not trying that because I don't have the grandfather. The other rune word we're using, Pak Zek. When you spend your resource, your ultimate cooldown is reduced. You're always spending your resource, so you're always getting your ultimate reset. It's great. It's going to keep your wrath up almost 100% of the time. It's amazing. So when you get the grandfather, you'll switch this aspect to your necklace. So earthquake damage, we're not really worried about the earthquake damage so much as you deal more damage after you're in an earthquake for 4 seconds. And since we're always putting down earthquakes with our runes, you're always going to be doing increased damage. So that's why you want that. Obviously, it's going to be a little less when you put on your necklace, but the increase of damage you'll have from the grandfather is going to be worth it 100%. Up here, Vehement Brawlers, you would move that down to your other weapon. So here, ideally, you're going to have ranks to, any of the passives that give you increased damage. In the meantime, strength, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, all of that's good. Maximum life is helpful. Wrath of Berserker cooldown reduction, because we do want to get it as low as we can so we can have as much of it up as we can. I think Dust Devil size here is good because remember we do get more damage per size, so that's what we got there. Vehement Brawlers, what that does, cast your ultimate skill, increases your damage for 8 seconds, also gives you some more ranks on your ultimate skill. We do love getting ranks on Wrath because more multipliers, we multiply them. As usual, use your gems in your jewelry to fix armor, to fix resistances, whatever you need to do. So on this ring and on your other ring, if you don't have a Ring of Starless Skies yet, you're going to want crit strike chance, crit strike damage, and maximum life. Or not maximum life, strength. Crit strike chance, crit strike damage, and strength. You want this to be all damage, all go. Wrath of Berserker cooldown. You also want, I think you could go for Dust Devil damage here. It helps out a little bit. So we're using elements, cycles through. When you're doing fire damage, it's going to do more damage. When you're doing physical damage, it's going to do more damage. It's just great all the way around. Your other ring, you could just put another multiplier there. The distance enemies or when they're stunned is really good. Just anything that's going to give you a little more damage. Ring of Starless Skies, you want to hit core skills on this. Ideally, that's where you want your GA to be on your Ring of Starless Skies, but oh well. Can't always win, right? So that's the gear. Like I said, if you don't have that ring, if you don't have the Ring of Starless Skies, what I would recommend is putting especially if you're using the Fist of Fate, put the lucky hit to restore resource would be good. You could also put resource cost reduction, resource generation, just anything to help your resource, because that's the first obstacle in getting this build up and running is your resource. If you're in your expertise, you're going to use two-handed weapon, two-handed axe expertise, which I haven't really leveled up yet. And then your two-handed mace expertise is always going to be getting used because you're using your two-handed mace for your whirlwind. Two-handed mace is going to be giving you some more damage, some more increased critical strike damage while berserking. We're always berserking. It's going to be great. And then you can get some fury back with that too. On your skills, we're pretty much just relying on our dust devils. So we're using lunging strike just to get down to whirlwind. Throw 5 points into whirlwind. Well, not 5 points. 1 point into whirlwind. I got 9 from gear. Don't worry about that. 9 points in the whirlwind because our whirlwind's not what's doing our damage. Our dust devils is. 1 fury each time it deals damage, and then you're doing bleeding. That gives us some more things in when you get into your Paragon tree. You get more damage to bleeding, damage reduction from bleeding, all kinds of things in there. I'm going to put 3 points into Tempered Fury, just increase your maximum Fury. Fury is a problem in this. Shouts are huge here. So Rallying Cry, it's going to be giving you some resource generation, which is going to be huge. And then your movement speeds, always great. Love that. You're always unstoppable. We just go, 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 go. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. Challenging Shout, it's going to be giving damage reduction all the time, which is amazing. You're going to get bonus maximum life, which is amazing. Thorns, we don't really care. There is some Paragon nodes that make you deal increased damage after you get hit while you have thorns, so that's a little helpful. Down here, we're going to be using Warcry because it's just giving you more life. It's regenerating some life. It's giving you berserking, and since it's getting used all of the time, you're going to be berserking all the time, so we're getting some more damage. It's going to be great. We're going to be getting some Fortify. It's just all around good. Going to be using Raid Leader. This is worded weird. It says heals allies, but it heals you and your allies. Always going to be up. Guttural Yell cause enemies to deal less damage. So this is just always reducing the amount of incoming damage because you're shouting every 1.5 seconds, and I'll show you why in just a second. Aggressive Resistance, 24 damage reduction while berserking. We're berserking all of the time, so just a flat 24% damage reduction. Prolific Fury. This is also a huge help. You get some extra ranks in here from some of your gear if you're lucky. While berserking, Fury generation is increased. So you're always berserking, so you're always getting back more Fury. Down here, we're going to put 1 point into Thick Skin. Whenever you take damage, you get a little bit of Fortify. That's just to move us down so we can get counter offensive. When you have Fortify, over 50% of your max life, we're getting Fortify constantly. Deal multiplicatively more damage. Defensive stance. While fortified, you gain extra damage reduction and you heal every second. So this is just helping us stay alive. Down here, you're going to put 4 points into Wrath of Berserker. We're kind of point starved on this build, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. Especially, you can play it by holding down one button, or you can play it by holding down one button and just pressing Wrath of the Berserker when it's up. Whatever you want to do, it's just as effective both ways. Wrath of the Berserker blows you up based on your stuff, gives you some extra damage, pulls in enemies, gives you berserking and unstoppable. And then, like I said, it deals some damage. You get 50 Fury you spend, gives you more damage on your berserking bonus. When it's active, you get more movement speed and increased Fury generation. So it's basically just helping you all the way around. 3 into Invigorating Fury. You heal for each point of Fury you spend, and you're always spending your Fury. It's going down super fast, so it's always healing you. It's super great. Heavy Hitter, ultimate skills, Earthquakes, and Dust Devils. Deal 30% more damage. We're using Dust Devils, so why not just get free damage on it? Heavy-handed, you do increase critical strike damage while you are berserking. This is one of the things you might want on your amulet. Any of these are great on your amulet because they're just giving you some higher damage, right? Increased critical strike damage, we love that. That's our biggest multiplier in the long run because we're relying on crits. Wallop, bludgeoning weapons deal increased damage if the enemy is stunned or vulnerable. They're always going to be vulnerable because of Fist of Fate. And if they're stunned, there you go, either way, but this is a multiplier. 35% multiplier is huge. That's why we want to get as many ranks to Wallop as we can. Wallop is great. And then you got concussion. Bludgeoning weapons have a chance to stun the enemies. It's amazing. And then two-handed bludgeoning weapons have a 30% chance to also deal X amount physical damage, which is awesome. And then we're using unconstrained, just giving this multiplier on our berserking damage. While not healthy, you're always berserk and gain 30% physical damage reduction. That second part doesn't matter that much because we're almost always healthy. We've got 4 to 5, we've got all the healing. But the big thing here, just a multiplier for your damage. Paragon, as normal. Don't forget you're using your Paragon points to fill in the gaps of your gear. You're trying to get your resistances, you're trying to get your stats. And then as you can, you want to get the extra nodes that are going to help you out for damage and stuff, right? So increase damage while berserking, increase this, increase that. That's what you're looking for. So in the meantime, what we're going to do, we're just going to talk about not node by node, but we're going to talk about the boards and what runes you're using on those boards. So starter board, I always recommend picking up either one of these first. Always go up the right side first because it's a small additive damage bonus plus the maximum life. It's always great. You can go up the left side if you want to get some armor and some max life. Either way, you can't really go wrong with that. You usually wind up getting both sides anyway. You want exploit, your opener here. Damaged by you, they become vulnerable. You're a melee build, so they get hit all the time, right? So they're always going to have vulnerable up. Then after you make it legendary, you deal increased damage to vulnerable targets. I'm going to move up here. This one, Force of Nature, Earthquakes deal increased damage and have a chance to spawn Dust Devils. So this is just giving you some more Dust Devils because you're always dropping Earthquakes because of our runes. Basically just frees up the skill slot for us and makes that help us out a lot more. We're using Challenger here. So Challenger, flat gives you increased damage to elites. Buffs your normal nodes within range, which is always good. And then your damage to elites after you make it legendary goes up by a percentage. Over here, we're using the Carnage. Berserking now additionally grants you attack speed and increased fire and physical damage. So when we're berserking, we're doing fire damage. When we're not berserking, we're doing physical damage. So it's just giving us a multiplier all the way around. We're also getting the attack speed. We love attack speed, so that's helping us out there. Here we're using the Wrath rune. Every dex, you're going to get some increased critical strike damage. So you can tell I'm putting my extra points into the dex around this node just to get my damage up. Skills of critically strike, generate 3 fury. That's huge when you're first getting started because you're going to have a decent amount of crit chance, and your big problem getting started on this build is always your fury generation. And then once you hit legendary, it gives you some flat increased damage to your critical strike damage. Over here, we're using Flawless Technique. Hitting with the same weapon increases your critical strike chance by 15% and critical strike damage by 30 for 4 seconds. So since we're always just holding down Whirlwind, we're always hitting with the same weapon. So our critical strike chance is going up and our critical strike damage is going up, and it's always going to be active, right? So this is incredible. Over here, we're using the Martial rune. It's going to give us a little bit of shout cooldown reduction, which doesn't matter in this. And it's going to be giving us some increased damage. But increasing the effectiveness of the nodes in range is huge. And then it's going to be giving us non-shout skill reduction. So this is going to be helping us get our ultimate back faster because most of our skills are shouts, right? So we've got three shouts that are always casting every 1.5 seconds. So every time one of our shouts is cast, it's going to reduce the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker, and it's going to help our Wrath of the Berserker uptime. And then last but not least, up here we've got Blood Rage. Killing a bleeding enemy has a chance to give you berserking. Don't care about that because we're always berserking, but your damage is increased by 45% multiplicative while berserking. That's what we care about. We want to get as much multipliers as we can because that's how you get the most damage, right? Additive is good, but multiplicative is better. And here we are using the Twister rune. For every 5 strength, your Dust Devil's damage is increased additively. Make sure you make that differentiation. You deal more damage for 4 seconds after creating a Dust Devil. This is up all the time because we're constantly making Dust Devils. And then your legendary affix on this rune is increased Dust Devil damage by a multiplier. So you want to level this one up first and as fast as you can. So That is the Paragons. Over here, Mercenaries. I use Subo. You don't need Subo. If you're trying to min-max, I would use Rahir for the extra defensives and stuff. But I like Subo because he shows me where things are. Critical strike damage increases good. Everything he does is kind of useful, but I just pretty much like him showing me where stuff is. And then we have Alkin. So I use him to set them on fire and stuff. Then whenever you use a skill is when you want him set up. Chaos perks, this is where this build gets super fun and interesting. So Raging Chaos, while you're not healthy or berserking, don't care about that. Your skills deal fire damage, and your casts make bursts dealing fire damage. So now we're dealing fire damage, right? We've got all those fire multipliers, which is amazing. A Beast Cornered, we love this. So spending resource makes you lose percentage of your life equal to 30% of the resource spent, refunding those resources. So this is helping us keep our fury up. It's incredible. Marred Guard, you can no longer be healed above 50% life. The second part of this is giving you extra damage and damage reduction based on how much life you're missing. And since we can't go above 50%, we're always going to have 100% multiplicative damage increase and 25% more damage reduction because we can't go above 50%. So these two pair really well together. Anytime you use one, I think you should use the other with a few different cases depending on your class, but these are amazing. This one is the game changer. This makes leveling easier. This makes playing the build easier. This is just the best thing since sliced bread. I love this. Deafening Chorus. Your equipped shouts are now always active with 50% increase effect. So they're 1.5 times as strong as they are base. Your maximum fury is reduced by 20% per shout equipped. We don't really have anything that cares about our maximum fury. That's why I didn't suggest that you use the legendary power that increases your damage for your max resource, because we're never going to be at max resource. But how this works, it says your equipped shouts are now always active. So what this does is every 1.5 seconds, it just casts all your shouts. So it's always giving you Dust Devils. It's keeping you berserk because your not Rallying Cry. Which one is it? Is it Rallying Cry? No. War Cry. So War Cry always gives you berserk, right? So this is casting more often than your berserk is coming off. So you're always going to be berserk when you have this. Not only that, it's always going to be keeping your Rallying Cry buff active, so you're always going to have extra move speed. You're always going to have extra resource generation, and this is going to count for your buddies. So this is really good quote-unquote support for your friends as well. It's always going to be keeping enemies around you taunted and giving you damage reduction. So keeping all of these up all the time. And remember, 1.5 times how strong these are. So it's 45% bonus life, right? It's 60% movement speed. It's 150% resource generation. It's more fortified. It's more damage, right? Everything is 1.5 times that strong. All right, so that's the gear, skills, and all the extra bits. Let me hop into a 70 here and show you the gameplay. And it is incredibly easy. Like I said, you can use your lunging strike every 15 seconds. You will notice I do not. I hold down Whirlwind and I press Wrath. That is it. When I'm doing stuff out in the world on T4 content, I usually don't even press Wrath because you don't need it. You'll see, with the exception of that pack of mobs that had the damage reduction, you can just run past things and your Dust Devils being behind you is going to take them out. And you hear those explosions from my Chaos powers and everything. You can see that even without all of the gear, even without all of the right tempers, without all of the right enchants, basically without being min-maxed very much at all, just having a handful of the correct items, we're absolutely decimating everything we touch, right? And again, it's your Dust Devils doing all the damage. I mean, you do have incremental damage from your Earthquakes and your Whirlwind and everything, but we are focusing on our Dust Devil damage because they're giving us the AoE clear. Like I was telling you guys, if you would rather just play the pure Whirlwind version, you change a couple of the uniques, and I may put a build up about that as well, but you focus on your Whirlwind damage and your multipliers for your Whirlwind, not the Dust Devils. You still use the Dust Devils because they're useful in some other ways, but for the most part, you're focusing on the gloves that make you explode every couple of seconds for Whirlwind damage. Like I said, I may make a build for that. Drop a comment if you'd like to see that. I can put in the effort to grab those items and put that together and show you if you like. But as you can see, on a 70, without being min-max, without having all the items, I'm missing several multipliers. I'm literally missing a ton of things, but it's still just incredibly smooth, incredibly strong, clearing everything without any issues. It's definitely one of those builds if you want to farm materials, obdicite, keys and hell tides, farm some rep and some venerated resource that I can't remember the name of right now, to buy scrolls for alts, you know, to farm chaos armor, whatever you want to do. This is definitely a good build to do it because you can just, you don't have to think. You can just hold down the button, steer in the general direction of mobs, and it will take everything out for you. So the bossing is kind of where this build suffers, but as you can tell, even with this being its weak point, we still took it out in just a couple of seconds, right? So that's a little less than 3 minutes 70 without any optimizations. My runes are still just level 46, 47, and 50. So that's the build, guys. Put this one together. Go out there. Enjoy the spin to win. I know I always do. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll catch you in the next one.